Hello and welcome to the Hammers Chat striker crisis at West Ham United. I call it a crisis. 16 competitive games now gone, so no striker has scored or assisted for West Ham. Is that a crisis?
I think so. I think bearing in mind we haven't scored a solitary goal thus far this season, it's a crisis. You've also got to remember it was the pledge. David Sullivan sat down in a bowling and he said at the end of last season, we are going to buy a 20-goal a season striker who's going to be the marquee signing to take us into the new stadium. We were linked with all and sundry, missed our, if it's to be believed, we missed our first 4 or 5 top choices. So, yeah, I would say it was a crisis, probably. We've not scored a goal.
Is it easy to blame the strikers, though? I mean, surely even an average striker should be scoring in 16 games.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you can make mitigation for each game on a game-by-game basis. So if you think in the lead up to the Sunderland game, lots of people were saying, well, this is Zaza's opportunity to score. He'll now score. He'll make hay while the sun shines. And I think you can look at isolated games, but I think once you're, well into winter, getting in towards November, strikers have had so many chances that you can take those mitigating factors out of it. Someone should be scoring. You could look at the last game against Everton and maybe say the midfield weren't close enough to the forward line being Antonio. So that's the excuse for that game. But you can't keep making excuses. At some point, a ball's going to bounce off someone's arse and go in the back of the net or something. It's just not happening for us.
Well, whether it's the creative players to blame or not, the bottom line is no West Ham United striker has scored or set up a goal this season in 16 competitive games. And we're here to discuss each individual West Ham United striker. Also, putting our thinking caps on and what can West Ham do in the January transfer window, which is usually a minefield when you're trying to purchase a player. And let's talk about the man who's taking it on. He's getting the most flack right now, the Italian man. I think everybody's hopes have built up and we got lumbered with a bit of a panic loan signing, if you like. To me, Gonzo, this is Zaza's ability aside. This deal is one of the worst deals I've ever seen at West Ham.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if we're just talking about the deal, it's pretty poor because it leaves us in a position. There's no incentive for him. If it had been structured differently, then maybe we could say, do you know what? We give him the season and we'll see if he scores goals. But immediately there's pressure on him because he's got, depending on which paper you read, between 10 and 17 games, which will then trigger a permanent transfer. Well, the pressure's on then. He's got to do something. And I'm not suggesting that that's why he's not doing it, but we're just separating the deal from the player's ability here. And that, I think it's just bad, really, for all concerned, apart from possibly Juventus, who are guaranteed the loan fee, which is hefty, whatever happens. So I think even worst case scenario, let's say it's 16 games that triggers the permanent deal. Zaza plays 15 games. Well, you know what? At that point, we don't play him anymore because we don't want to sign him. We send him back to Juventus. They've still had a 6 million fee off of us, and we've carried his wages for all that time, which are, again, anything between 70 and 90 grand a week, depending on what you want to believe.
That's if Juventus accept him. Juventus could say, we don't want him back. You keep him till the end of the season, you pay his wages, and he just has to play in the development squad. Or I imagine Juventus will be hoping we get forced at some point. Bilic turns around to the board and says, I need to play him. I need my striker, and you're just going to have to stump up the rest of the fee. I feel sorry for Bilic in this one because eventually, at some point the board's going to have to say to Bilic, you're not playing him anymore. Or Bilic is going to have to sacrifice who is supposed to be his main striker to please the board. It's going to be a very awkward situation because let's say it's 15 competitive games in the middle. He's only got 6 left, and it's examples like against Everton, he came off the bench when we were a goal down, huge pressure on him, and he only got half an hour or something. That's one of his appearances gone. It doesn't matter.
Or as it starts, we don't know everyone likes to think like that. Well,
because if it was starts, surely we would just use him as a bench player all the time and just not start him. Just sorry, Juventus, we found a little loophole here. All I can do, all I hope is the board go to Juventus and say, let's rejig this deal and get that appearance thing out of there, and we'll keep him until May, and we'll decide in May whether we're keeping him or not. But why has it not worked for Zaza, Gonzo?
Well, he's not good enough, and it's not said in hindsight. We either live or die by the sword, because we do forums, we do videos, this sort of thing. It's very easy to go back in time and check our comments, and a lot of times we get things wrong, and you go back and people bring it up, you got that wrong. Well, this one, there was nothing wrong. We did a preview show at the end of last season, or mid transfer window, before we'd signed anyone at all, and we said at the time, you, myself and Charlie, we read his stats out, and I said, this is not an impressive player. That was before the Euros. We looked at his record. His record at Juventus was not good. He scored some goals in Serie B, their second tier in Italy, but there was nothing in his record to suggest he would be prolific with us now. And funny enough, I read something possibly on Twitter this morning where somebody said, oh, come on, guys, give him a chance. You can't be that bad if you play for Juventus all the time, play for Italy all the time. I think you can sort of say what you want to try and make your point. The truth of the matter is he didn't play for Juventus all the time. He was, I was going to say super sub. We'll just go with sub for Juventus. And he's been dropped from the Italian squad. So I just don't think he's good enough. I think he was the 5th or 6th choice, and he shouldn't even have been there.
I just don't think he suits Bilic. I don't think he suits the way we play. I think he needs another striker up there. It's not something Bilic has ever done since arriving at West Ham, play 2 up front. So I don't know why we seem to think that this guy was somebody going to become a lone striker overnight and produce the goods. I feel really sorry for him. I do feel really, really sorry for him. But, someone's messed up here. Someone has messed up, whether it's Bilic or it's the board. But we've wanted this guy for more than a year. Whether he was 5th choice in the summer or not, we wanted him when as soon as Bilic arrived, he was on the list. That this is one of the guys Bilic wants to bring in, and I think maybe a year ago it would have been acceptable, but now we're trying to move on and push up. It's no longer acceptable. Scott said, our friend Scott on here on the preview for Everton says that he'd rather forget Zaza. He'd rather have Lala. Well, the thing is, I think he's picked the wrong Teletubby, because he's playing more like a Dipsy with a little bit of pole, and I just hope he's better at playing with his Tinky Winky than he is at playing football. Because
you've written that down before we started. Really nice.
Yeah, I did. I thought I'd try and do some humor there. But I think we can both safely say Zaza, try and send him back. Would you like to send him back, or would you like to see the deal redone so that we could keep him until the end of the season without any sort of appearance fee attached to it?
Either is preferable to us signing him on a permanent deal. That scenario that you said earlier, whereby we might be forced to play him and Bilic might say, sorry, you've got to stump up the cash. That's a hell of a lot of money. I think, and we're going to go back to Gherkin Toure here. I think if it was somebody like him, which I believe was 5 million loan fee, which we've already paid, and if it becomes permanent and it's 11, then I think if it's, I say only 6 million, like we've all got 6 million in our back pocket, but in football terms, football's a rich game. If it was only additional 6 million, then I think you'd probably say, okay, fair enough. But I believe the Zaza fee in total was something like 23 million. So I think there might be something like 18 million left to pay Juventus. That's a hell of a lot. It just can't be done.
But I think 6 million for a midfielder is the same as 18 million for a striker. In my eyes, anyway, I do think you pay more for a striker than you do for midfielders generally. But let's leave Zaza there. Let's move on to another player we're going to have to make a decision on soon. We've got quite a few of them to talk about tonight, but the guy who we all hoped was going to be the main striker this season, he hoped he was going to be the main striker this season, Andy Carroll. Now, we don't know where he is. He's just injured. He's out having either a beer or a beetroot drink. He's having one or the other. But he's got 18 months. Let's put the injury thing not to aside, but he's got 18 months left on his deal going. So what are you thinking we should be doing with Andy Carroll? Get him fit and try and get him off the books, whether it's just someone takes him for free, hopefully, on a gamble. Someone like Hull City who are desperate. They might think, you know what, this guy might be worth 4 million a year. On the off chance he scores 5 goals, it might just be enough for us. What do you think we should be doing with Andy Carroll?
I don't think we can do anything. We're not in a position of strength with Carroll at all. For your scenario to happen, he'd have to take a hell of a pay cut, because even though we all know, because of his injury record, we're not going to get a transfer fee for him, I also don't think anybody's going to match his wages. So let's say he got fit, and then we'll go with Hull as your example. Mike Phelan wants to take him to Hull to try and get him out of the relegation zone. If Carroll's on £85,000 a week, I could very much see a situation whereby Hull are paying £25,000 a week of that, and we're paying 60 grand a week still towards his wages. I don't think there's.
Surely for a club like Hull City, they might say, well, Andy, we'll give you a 6-month contract on 85 grand a week, and if we stay up, we'll look at renewing it, we'll go down. We haven't lost any. To Hull City, staying in the Premier League is surely worth 85 grand a week for someone who wins points. He is a match winner.
Sounds good for Hull City. Don't sound good for Andy Carroll. Why would he give up a 2.5-year contract for a 6-month one? He's not going to.
He's only got 18 months left.
All right, well, whatever. Why would he take 6 months when he's got 18 months left? You wouldn't do it. Also, I mean, he came down from the northeast. He's settled now. His girlfriend was in Towie or something like that. I don't know. He's settled in Essex. He's got a pink sofa. I've seen his picture of him settled in his nice pink sofa. Why would he want to leave? He's settled down. He clearly likes the area. Got a local girlfriend. Why would he lose however much he earns, 4 million a year, let's say? Why would he drop 4 million and go and live up in Hull? I just can't. I just don't think we're in a position of strength. I think we are stuck with Andy Carroll. The best we can hope with Andy Carroll is that we'll get 15 games a season out of him, and in those 15 games he'll score 8 or 9 goals. That's the best case scenario.
But what would you like to happen?
Well, I'd like him to get fit and play lots of games. I like Andy Carroll. Whether he's playing or whether he's coming off the bench, I like Andy Carroll. I think the fans like Andy Carroll. I think Andy Carroll likes us. I would like him to get fit. It's just not going to happen. And I'm sorry to say we bought a crock. And I don't even think he failed. He passed his medical. That's the rumour, that he didn't pass his medical properly. That actually Mr. Sullivan wanted Wilfred Boney. Sam Allardyce pushed it through. I think the whole thing's a farce. And and from this, we need to learn a lesson. Going back to Zaza, we need to stop signing these players in this funny fashion. We need to sign players in a professional manner, and we can get it wrong.
We need to go old school when signing players. Just sign players like we did 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Just pay some money, get your player sorted. But with Andy Carroll, so if this whole he's fit for 10 games and he's injured and then he's fit again, at the end of the 18 months, would you just say, Trudio, thank you for your service, Andy, out the door you go?
I'd be reluctant to do that. I think he owes us. I think we've paid him so much money. I think at that point you've got to try and appeal to his better nature, particularly bearing in mind he's with us here. You've almost got to get him on a pay-as-you-play deal and say, look, Andy, because I think we've actually got a 2-year option, believe it or not, on his deal. We could extend that, but not on its current terms. If we were to turn around and say, look, Andy, we'll give you a basic of 20, and then every time you play, we'll give you another 30 on top. Or, if we could structure it in such a way, I'd like to see him stick around because I'd like to think he could come good. But it's hope. That's the heart. My head says he will never play 15 games a season for us. He'll never get into double figures in goals, which, bearing in mind the outlay, is pretty horrific.
I have to agree. I'd like to see him kept on in lesser terms, but I just think he's a match winner. He's a points winner. He's someone. He's what we've been missing at Everton, against Middlesbrough, against Sunderland, and we're struggling to break down. It's almost like, please, can Andy Carroll just come off the bench so we've got the simple option, but we've got a very effective option. And I would do what you said at the end of 18 months. Actually, now I'd probably be sitting down with him now, saying, if you take a wage reduction today, knock off 50 grand off your weekly and bump it up massively with bonus appearance fees, goal fees, whatever you want. Golden Boot Award fee, your highest top goal scorer at West Ham fee, throw loads of bonuses at him and see if he will sign a 4-year contract. Let's get some wages shaved off his contract now, which will free up wages pronto, because that's what the club keep going on about. Now, I think Andy Carroll's our best striker. That you think this guy is our best striker. Sakho, where is Sakho? It's like a big game of where's Wally, isn't it? But the only problem is no one can find Wally. Just before we get on to Sakho, I just want to finally say on Carroll, there's something very weird going on with his injuries, by the way. Normally, when a player gets an injury, a club is very upfront about what that injury is. You don't expect him a little knocks or a game or two, but Carroll has big injuries that keep him out for a long time, and there is not much information coming out. I just wonder if he is permanently damaged goods. That's my concern, and no one really wants to come out and say, do you remember the Dean Ashton thing as well? They were trying to get the insurance payout, not quite. He made
sort of made a comeback, and then I wonder if they're trying to do something with insurance. I don't know. So
I think he's been disciplined from his drinking night out. I think Randolph got disciplined as well, because Randolph went missing for 2 games. He had a back injury, but yeah, he played for Ireland, and then all of a sudden he comes back for the cup game against Chelsea, which is very convenient. He couldn't make the bench as a goalkeeper when you're very unlikely to be called upon. But yeah, you're fine for the games either side. But I think he's just been disciplined, Andy Carroll. That's all. I just think he's had his hand slapped a little bit.
Well, I don't want to slap his hand too bloody hard, because they might break it the way he's going. But yeah, there you go. Anyway,
but Sakho, where's Sakho?
As you say, where's Wally? I don't know. I do think he is the best striker at the club. I think he finds space in the box. I think he works hard. Again, mystery surrounds the injury. Anything that keeps a player out for months is a serious injury. But and back pain is a nasty thing. We all know someone has had back pain. It is a nasty thing to clear up, but I don't know. Again, there's something not quite right. I bet the club are gutted that he failed his medical and that West Brom deal didn't move through. I wish I had some inside information. I really wish I knew something, but I don't. And we desperately need someone like Sakho at the moment, because he would offer a lot more up front. And of course, then you start wondering, is he right upstairs? That's the other thing that people worry about with him, is his mind on the job. You remember when he went off to the African Cup of Nations and he got injured there, and he came back and he wasn't quite right. And then there was the stuff about his daughter and him splitting up with his girlfriend and him wanting to go back to France, but then he looked like the Midlands. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know what's happening with him.
The whole thing's a bit strange with Sakho. I just don't get it either. I mean, he's posting videos of himself dancing, so you can't have a back injury if you're suddenly doing the tango or whatever he was doing on social media.
I didn't see it.
Either have I, but I've seen people talk about it. But he's been training with under 23s last week, I think, and I think he's training with the first team this week. So time's running out. They have to, sooner or later, they're going to have to almost make Sakho have a public appearance, whether that's on the bench or he starts or something. Time's running out. And do you think maybe they're just trying to keep him in the background until January, then they're going to boot him out the club ASAP?
Again, who's going to take him and at what value at this current thing? Because for the longer this goes on, his value drops. His stock, there's been time when his stock was high. When he came in and he started with us and he matched the Premier League goal scoring record for consecutive goals, 6 or 7 or whatever it was, his stock was high that season. It was very, very high. And there would have been a time when you would have got 16, 17 million for that player and made a good profit. I think we'd be lucky to get offered 6 or 7 million for him now, because you're buying trouble. You might not be, but the suggestion would be that you're buying trouble and you're buying problems if you buy him, be it an injury or be it an attitude problem.
Would you sell him for 6 or 7 million?
I'm not up for selling anyone at the moment, and I'll tell you why. Because I am not confident that, number one, we have as a club, be it Bilic, be it the owners, or be it the scouting system, that we have identified the correct replacements, and that's shown by players like Zaza and Toure coming in. And number two, that we can, even if we got any money in for players, we could spend it wisely. Sorry, I went A and 2. I should have gone A and B or 1 and 2. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. I don't think we've highlighted the right players, and I don't think we spend money wisely at all. As been shown, we are wasting money. We're like a bloody colander at the moment. You know what I mean? And I worry about that. So what's the point in getting 6 million in if we're going to go and chuck it on a loan fee for somebody that we're never going to sign?
Because he's not playing. It's 6 million for someone doing nothing with. It's a bit like if someone came into my house and said, "Here, see that thing in your cupboard that you've not used in a year, I'll give you a tenner for it." I'd sell it. It's not because of what it is. It's just because it's in my cupboard. It's almost like Sakho's in the West Ham cupboard.
You haven't told us what it is in the cupboards.
Well, I don't know. A frame, a picture frame. Someone might come and say, "I have that," and all of a sudden, so go, "Actually, hang on, I don't have a lot of picture frames. One day I might fancy taking that out. I'd give him it for a tenner because it's sitting in my cupboard." Sakho right now is sitting in the West Ham cupboard.
But if all your picture frames on your mantelpiece were broken, you'd be using that picture frame. If we're disappearing into picture frame world here. But I don't know. But listen, it's going to be no good if what you're going to do is take the money for that thing and just go and waste it straight away. And that's what I'm worried we will do. 6 million is only of value to us if we spend it shrewdly and spend it wisely. And I don't think we will. I don't think we've got a clue. It looked a year or so ago. You know, we were bringing Cresswell in and Chiate and Lanzini and Payet, of course, and all those players. It looked like we really knew what we were doing with our money. I've got to say, the last 12 months doesn't look like we've got a Scooby-Doo what's going on, to be honest with you.
But we'll talk about who we want to see come in. There could be some value out there for 6 million. So we'll get some suggestions on that later on. But we'll talk about the rest of our strikers. Very quickly, I suppose, the guy that we haven't really seen much of, we didn't really hear much of until he signed. Then David Sullivan put a lot of pressure on him because as soon as he signed, and at this point, Barca and Lacazette weren't coming, we announced the signing of Calleri. And David Sullivan goes on the official site going, I think this guy could score heaps of goals. This guy could be one of the top goal scorers at the club. That was when alarm bells started to go a little bit because this guy was meant to be coming in as 4th or 5th choice striker, and David Sullivan almost promoted him to 2nd choice striker the day he signed.
Well, to be fair, he was accurate because he is in the mix in the goal scoring striker charts at West Ham. Calleri is right up there with 0 goals, just like the rest of them. So you know, he's got it sort of half right. I thought he was going to be good as well. We did a YouTube video on him, which I'm not shy to point people towards. We did a Who Are You when we started doing that series, and we featured him and had all his goals from Argentina. He played for Sao Paulo as well for a period, and he looked really good, very, very technical, and he looked fantastic. But Talk Sport have got this guy called Tim Vickery. I think he's their South American football correspondent. And just as we were about to sign him, he went on Talk Sport. He does a weekly roundup, and he's on the Hawksby and Jacobs show. And they always ask him, they say, okay, such and such have been linked with this club. Can you tell us anything about it? And they got down to Calleri. And he said, I've no idea why West Ham are going to sign Calleri because he's not actually exceptional at anything. I don't think he'll do well in the Premier League. He's not quite fast enough to beat a defender. He doesn't quite get in behind. And just listed all these reasons. And I thought, well, that's not the guy that I've seen on the YouTube videos. But as we know from Julian Faubert, YouTube videos are not, apart from other YouTube videos, of course, YouTube videos are not the best quality things in the world. So it's a bit of a shame. I thought he was going to be better than he was. What about you? What do you think of him?
I don't think he's been given a chance. I don't know anything about him. I've never heard of him. I just don't think he's been. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he's had less minutes on the pitch than Ashley Fletcher. And Ashley Fletcher's not had a chance. I just don't think he's had a fair crack of the whip yet. But the good news is he's here for a year. We've got no stupid clause like Zaza's got. So we can play him and dip him in and out the team where we want to. We can put him in the under 23s. I mean, tonight, Monday night, we're recording this. He's playing for the under 23s and he set up Ashley Fletcher's goal. So him and Fletcher are played up front for the under 23s tonight. So I'd like to see more of him. I'm kind of on the fence with Calleri. I've not really got an opinion of him yet. I've not seen enough to judge him. He's not done anything bad. He's just not done anything good. But I don't know if he's had the chance to do anything good because when he's on the pitch, he's had a couple of half chances. We played that. I think it was against Astra. He had a couple of decent chances.
He had a good chance and he fluffed it. I don't know if that's dented his confidence.
He fluffed his lines, and when he came on against Bournemouth in the very last minute, very last kick of the game, he was kind of 1-on-1. I just think he had too much time then. He had 60,000 people, 57,000 or whatever, people breathing down his neck, going, go on then, score. And I think the pressure got to him a little bit, and he had too much time to think when he was approaching the goal. Then Astra, I think that was playing on him. But he's dropped back into the under 23s. He's clearly doing stuff. I don't know how well he's doing, but he's playing. He's got the assist tonight. Hopefully that'll build his confidence. We might see him come out of his shell a little bit more. But the problem is, we need to learn how our strikers play. Like, we need to learn how Zaza plays. We need to learn how Calleri plays and play to their abilities and their strengths rather than just playing plan A. But I suppose this is where the trouble is, isn't it? We should have bought players to fit Bilic's plan A rather than say, Bilic, here's your strikers. Come up with a plan B, C, and D because you're going to need to if you're going to get the best out of these strikers. But is it worth playing Calleri, though, if we don't have a fee arranged for him at the end of the season? You know, can we actually win unless he goes on this miraculous run and scores 10 goals or whatever? But then as soon as he does that, clubs are going to come sniffing. and his value goes up. It's a bit like what we were just talking about Sakho and his stock.
Yeah, again, we're not beggars can't be choosers. Whether someone is around for 5 years or 5 minutes, we just need someone to score goals at the moment. And whether that's half fit Andy Carroll, Sakho with a screw loose, Calleri who's not going to be around next season, it almost doesn't matter. We need to find a system, of a way of playing, as you say, playing towards a striker's strength, that will allow us to score some goals before January, and then in January, then we do something.
Well, he's playing tonight with Ashley Fletcher, a man that everyone, when we signed him, everyone thought, oh, hang on, a few Man U fans, some well-known Man U fans said, well, it's a very good signing for West Ham. He was actually ahead of Rashford, but he was out on loan when we needed a young kid, so Rashford got the call and he's taken it. He's a big lad, strong lad. Everyone's looking forward to seeing him. He hasn't had much game time either, though. If I've got one criticism of Bilic, well, I've got criticism of his tactics, but if I've got one, it's the lack of youth. I'd like to see more, and I include Fletcher in this, and I include Fernandez in that because he's only 20, but we're seeing some of him now. I would like to see these young players given more of a chance. What's Fletcher got to do to get a chance?
I don't know. Funny enough, I had this conversation last night, but it was with Oxford. And I know I'm not going to drift on to that, we're sticking on strikers, but just briefly on Oxford, I said, bearing in mind we are playing 3 centre-backs now, if with Reed out, Oxford finds himself not in the mix, he probably is going to think, hold on, what have I got to do to get into the team? Surely this is the time for me to learn, because we're playing 1 additional centre-back. What's Fletcher got to do to get into the team? I don't know. Again, as a striker, you'd probably be looking at the team thinking, well, nobody's doing anything. Give me a chance, because nobody's scoring. If people were scoring, then Fletcher could have no complaints at all. He cost a nominal fee. He's a young player, and the club were probably looking to send him out on loan, but he scored, didn't he? He scored a couple of goals. Was it in a friendly or was it against Domzale? I can't remember now, but he did score a couple of goals, didn't he? In pre-season. So I think that probably stopped them getting him out on loan to Leeds, which is the club that wanted him, I believe. So I don't know. Again, you'd be despondent if you were a player and the people in your position were not doing it but still getting picked. You'd be quite disappointed. You'd be even more disappointed, actually, if you then found that a winger was getting played in the striker role and you weren't getting a chance. That clearly shows that Fletcher's not getting in there. But also, I'll touch on that when we discuss Ayew.
Yeah, he's the next player after this one to discuss. One more player. The guy that usually plays for the U23 is Martinez. Why is he not getting a sniff? He was banging him in since he's come here. Surely, as a striker or to play up front, you want a guy with confidence. Surely goals means confidence regardless of what level it's scored at.
Yeah, he is a very, very promising player. And again, what's the point in having these development squads, these under-23 squads, if they're not going to lead to something bigger and something better? So again, it's almost exactly the same as what I just said. If the players in the first team, the strikers, are not scoring, and the players in the under-23 are scoring, then it stands to reason. It's just logic. Take one of those out and put Martinez in. I'm in total agreement with you. He absolutely should at least have been given a chance. I'm not saying he's the answer. I don't know if he's the answer or not. He might not be able to make the step up, but he might just be brilliant. You mentioned Rashford earlier. He might be like a Rashford. He might get his chance and start scoring goals. So surely someone's got to have a chance. We can't keep persevering and doing what we're doing, really.
Yeah, I have to agree. We don't know if he is the answer, but let's at least ask the question. Let's ask the question, is he the answer? Let's give him a couple of games. But the problem is now we're running into this run of games that consists of all the big clubs, and it's like you've almost missed your chance to play Martinez against West Brom and Sunderland and Middlesbrough. You've kind of missed those games now. Now we're going to play Spurs, Man U, Liverpool away from home, and Arsenal at home. The pressure's just gone from here to here, and I wonder if it's too big an ask. But now let's talk about the man who's just come back from injuries, our record signing. Everybody's loving this guy, Andre Ayew. What are you thinking about him? Could he be the answer to our striker?
Yeah, but he won't be. And this is what I'm really, really concerned about. I don't know why we've purchased him. Again, we did a video. Who are you, or who are you, should we say? We looked at him, and what we did is we picked out the footage of him when he had played as a striker against, for Swansea, and when he played for Marseille. So I was at the first game of the season, the away game, Chelsea, when he got injured, and I was very interested to see where he was deployed. And it was wide, and I thought, oh, okay. But he got injured. I thought, well, do you know what? That's not enough of a game to really tell where Bilic wants him to operate. So we go back to the original statement, the original pledge from Sullivan that we would be bringing in a 20-goal-a-season striker. So at the point we signed him, I thought, okay, we've not got Lacazette, Batshuayi, Baka, whoever else. They've clearly gone down one more level, or they're working their way down the list. Maybe this is the guy. They're going to play him as striker. We don't need him in Lanzini's position. We don't need him in Payet's position. We don't need him on the right because we've got Antonio. And, of course, at that point, we just bought in Faguli as well. So this guy's going to be the striker. He actually jumps quite high as well for a guy that's not a huge fella. And then the last couple of games when he's come on against Chelsea, then again at the weekend against Everton, goes back to what we were saying about Ashley Fletcher. If Ayew doesn't get a go up front when all the strikers aren't scoring, then we have a problem. So even when Antonio was there, he didn't take Antonio off and then put Ayew up front. He put Ayew deep, and it just, I think he could be a very, very good player. He makes late runs into the box, but I didn't think that was what we were buying. Why? I don't understand why we've bought that if he's not going to be deployed as a striker. And I'm a little bit worried about that because I think, well, hold on a second. If what we've done is spent 20 million on Ayew and then pledged ourselves to 23 million on Zaza, why didn't we just pay? I know he got injured, Lacazette, but why didn't we just pay Lyonnais money, which was 43 million for Lacazette, and actually just get a striker, just get the striker we wanted? That's what worries me, not his talent, where Bilic's going to deploy him. I just don't think he's going to play him as a striker.
I don't think we should play a striker. I've said it a few weeks now, but look at Liverpool. Their blueprint is working. No one can cope with it. Firmino is not a out-and-out striker. Put Ayew in that position, or Lanzini, or Payet, and then you use the Coutinho and the Mane roles for the other three, and you've got Antonio as well. But three, technically, Antonio's not the most technically gifted player, but he's fast and he's strong and he's powerful. You have three technically gifted, all with different traits, running up defences. It would be a dream, but we need a striker. I'm excited by Ayew. The thing is, I know we're saying where will he play, but Lanzini is not going to play every game this season. Payet's not going to play every game this season. He's going to fit in somewhere. Unfortunately, he's going to have to be Mr. Versatile and move around all the time. But that could work in our favour when you're trying to plan a game against West Ham. You're thinking this guy's on playing good this season, but where the hell is he going to be playing against us? We don't actually know. He could pop up on the left wing. The next week he's on the right wing. The next week he's set in the centre, and the next week he's up front. He could be playing anywhere. It's hard to mark, and I think that's been our problem sometimes. That it's been very obvious to guess West Ham's team in the attacking sense anyway. We all know Dimitri Payet's going to be left wing trying to cut in. We all know that. Very easy. So now you know how to defend. Lanzini's going to be in the centre of the attacking midfield. Give him a couple of kicks, he'll be out the game. He doesn't like the rough and bustle of the Premier League. But I just question if we actually need a striker. We obviously do need a striker, but some games I'd like to see us play without one and always play the false nine, as it's called. But I would just like to call it the attacking midfielders. But let's talk about strikers then. January, we know it's a bit of a hassle to buy players. We know who we've missed out on. But who can we get? Right. Top of the budget. It's got to be your Inter Milan man, Icardi.
Totally and utterly. Again, hark back to videos. We did 5 or 6 videos. Icardi was the most impressive of all the players. I said, I didn't like Baka. I thought Baka was a poacher, as you know, and in many respects, I'm almost glad we didn't sign him because he just wouldn't have got the service, because we've not created much service for a striker this season. Although clearly he'd have been better than what we have. I'm not suggesting that. Icardi was the one who looked technically excellent, and I believe he's actually upset the Inter Milan ultras. They're passionate fans. So he might be looking for a way out. Having said that, I think he scored against Torino possibly at the weekend. So
He's a nifty one because he signed a new deal last month or the month before, and his minimum fee release clause or whatever is like 80 million or something. But he did that whole book thing where he had to pop at his own fans, etc., etc. And you do wonder if he's treading on thin ice there. But the problem is, I think it's a problem. It's not close enough to the transfer window. He's got 2 months to make amends, and if he does keep scoring, who cares about the book? It is yesterday's news. If this was like the January transfer window is now, you'd have a chance of going in and taking advantage of that situation. But I think you've missed the boat almost a little bit with the. I think it was all wrongly timed for anyone trying to buy him. But to go back to what you said, Baka wouldn't have got the service. I disagree with that. The reason I disagree with that is because our attacking midfielders would have had the confidence that Baka can finish. I think that's part of the problem with Zaza. They're not confident to give it to him and say, on you go score, because they don't think he can do it. He's not proven it yet. Baka's proven it. Baka would be coming. He could almost walk in there with his chest out thinking, I am one of the best strikers in Europe. I am what you need. You give me the ball. Like Zlatan had at Man U. He went into the biggest club in the world and walked in with his chest out going, I've got nothing to prove here. You will give me the ball. You will feed me. That's what Baka could have done at West Ham. He could have walked in there and just said, you will give me the ball and I will score. And I think that's the difference between him and Zaza. There's no confidence. Payet won't have the confidence just to cross it blindly. Because with Baka, he probably could just cross it without even looking up, knowing that he's in the box somewhere and you've got a decent chance that it's going to hit him. And if it doesn't hit him, Baka will try and get the end of it. But anyway, let's get back to the targets. I brought a few down. I'll get if you think anyway. Now, funny enough, when I was writing down targets, Icardi was the only one I wrote down that is not based in the Premier League. Does that say everything it needs to say to you?
Well, it says you've got a terrible knowledge of the European game.
It's not that. I think it's about time we bought some Premier League experience. I don't think we've got enough time to go flapping around in Europe looking for the next big thing, because how often do teams go abroad, pick out a striker and come back with them that we didn't know about?
No, I agree. I agree. You're preaching to the converted. I'm a big one for established players in the Premier League.
So is there anyone you're hoping? Who would you pick? Before I go through mine, you nick my ideas. I've not told you them on purpose, and I've stayed away from our forum at hammerschat.com because someone said who's available, and I almost replied with a couple of people, but I thought no, because I'm giving Gonzo some intel. I'm going to stay Shatum. So who would you be hoping that in an ideal world that we could go after, bearing in mind budget, etc.?
That's very sneaky of you, by the way. Very sneaky, I must say. Okay, I'll give you 3. Defoe, no secret there. I said it at the start of the season. He'll get your goals, minimal fee. There's your 6 million for Sakho, by the way, if it was spent there. The one I would absolutely go for would be Daniel Sturridge. He's the one, but we need to show some ambition to get it. And the other one, a little bit left of field maybe, would be Wayne Rooney. I'd like to see Wayne Rooney. He's a.
Sorry, I thought we were looking.
Looks like Shrek. Plays in a red shirt.
I thought we were looking for a striker there. I thought this was a striker show, not an overpaid Man United reject. Pardon me, I must be on the wrong show here. You'd actually genuinely go for Wayne Rooney.
If the price was right, yeah. But if only because I think Mourinho's a nightmare. Mourinho's creates situations where none needs to be created. See a situation where he's forcing Rooney out of that club, and I think you could take advantage of it. He's better than Zaza, isn't he?
What's the price is right? You said if the price is right. What's that in a fan's perspective? How much is Wayne Rooney?
I don't think you pay for him. I think you get him on loan. I think you get him on loan for the remainder of the season.
You've just been slating loan deals all show.
No, with a thing to buy. Yeah, but what I also said was it doesn't matter what the deal is.
You want Mata as well now?
Bring him on, mate. Bring him on. We'll have him all up front as well. I don't care. Yeah. Yeah, I just think something's got to be done a little bit differently. But my main one, if we could afford him, would be Sturridge. But I thought it the other day. I thought, look, they said, Wayne Rooney's being forced out of Man United. I thought, well, we'd take him certainly better than Zaza. But yeah, Sturridge is your main one.
No, I don't want Rooney. I do not want Rooney at all. He's been Man U's problem. He's England's problem. It's your Achilles heel. This is why your country doesn't work when you keep playing him in the middle of the pitch. He is exactly what we don't want. He's basically Mark Noble in a more advanced position. He will just slow down play. That is not what we want. But I get what you're saying because it's a big name, and it's almost like the Joe Hart scenario. Joe Hart became available, and everybody went, "Do we need a goalie?" No one ever said we needed a goalie until Joe Hart popped up. Then all of a sudden, everybody was like, "Oh, hang on a minute, we could maybe get him." For me, Rooney, no way. Like the wages he would want, he's on $250,000 at Man U. You know, Man U aren't going to subsidise his wages for us.
Oh, I think they would. Anyway, I don't want to get caught up. It was a little thing. Sturridge is the guy I think we should be going for. But my point is, before you give your list, I've got zero faith. I would love a Cardi. I'd love Sturridge. I've got zero faith that we're going to get. What I think is going to happen is more of the same. I think we're going to get linked with players. I think it'll be leaked that we're going for players. I don't think we'll get any. I think I can't remember the other day somebody said we'll go for a striker. I'll tell you what, we'll end up with Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, to be honest with you.
Well,
but with Sturridge, though, do you not worry about his injury record?
Yeah, but again, I think he'll be priced accordingly, and he is being sort of forced out.
Okay. Again, what price would you pay for Sturridge then?
Oh, I mean, if you could get Sturridge. When Sturridge is fit and firing, which I take it is not all the time. Sturridge is a £50 million player. Sturridge is superb. Is probably only Aguero, I would say, is better than him. We should go for Aguero as well, by the way. I think if you could get Sturridge for 15 million, that would be a bargain and a steal. I think he would definitely score goals.
I agree with 50 million. It's just, I don't know, we've got enough money to afford 50 million on an injury punt, which is essentially what he is. We're talking about, let's forget the foreigner punts. We're now talking about another injury punt.
Okay, what's your list then?
Well, I'll go through them. I've got Defoe as well. My only thing would be he's 34, so you could only give him an 18-month deal. But by the time January comes around, Sunderland will pretty much be down. They're pretty much down already, but come January, they'll be even further down. He might want out. Sunderland, he'll be their highest earner. They might think, you know what, let's get rid of the highest earner at the call. Let's get a few million for him. Let's just go down with zero fight at all. And I think that's the obvious solution. And like you said, 5 million, probably get him for 5 million, 18 months, sorted. Makes sense. I'll leave the one I really like till the end. The one that everybody spoke about in the summer, he fell out of West Brom, Berahino. Pulis has started playing him again, but he's not scoring. So he's almost doing a Sakho, isn't he? He's kind of lowered his price. He was 20 million. His contract, is it at
6
the end
months?
of this?
Yeah, 6 months.
The end of this season, so he's got nothing left. I think if you take him on a free, you will have to go through the whole process of paying compensation, etc., with a tribunal. But surely West Brom have to sell in January if someone comes knocking.
Well, he's brilliant as well. He's definitely got a screw loose. He's definitely, well, not a screw loose. He's got an attitude. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got an attitude problem. He's got a swagger. But he's brilliant, and he possibly is the new Defoe, the next Defoe. He's got that instinctive talent about him. I really like him as a player, but he could have a fight in a telephone box, to be fair.
He's got a lot to prove, though. I think when he leaves West Brom, he's got to make or break his career. His next move is crucial. It's one of those where it almost reminds me of Ravel Morrison a bit. Your next move is massive. You go, you knuckle down, and you prove West Brom wrong, sorted. But if you go there and do this whole attitude thing again, you're going to be on loan to the Championship, and then every club in England won't touch you. Go, you know what? I don't want you here. Get out of here. You're a bad egg, and no one wants a bad egg. You asked Joey Barton. It took him about 2 months in Scotland before he's got suspended. No one wants a bad egg in the change room. But would you take? How much would you pay for Berahino? What, 10 million? Would you take?
Oh yeah. I'll pay 10. I think you might get him for 10 as well. They'd have to, and he would be comfortably a best striker at the club when we got him. Bearing in mind all the issues that we've discussed about our strikers in this show.
10 million and a dancing Sakho. Hopefully that will be enough to encourage him.
I think Sakho's knees, I don't think he'd be dancing. I don't want him to pass his medicals. I don't want him dancing.
Time for someone it's a bit like Sturridge. It's a bit one of them. He won't go to West Ham. But when you think about it, and that's Giroud. He popped up in the summer. Then he had a good Euros, and everybody kind of thought, he's too good for us now. Arsenal's playing Sanchez up front. It's almost like Wenger saying, Wenger just... He's going in the summer, Wenger. And
what's his name?
Arsene Wenger. Wenger.
Yeah.
Giroud. The only reason Giroud is there is because of his manager. Okay, I don't think but I think he's very underrated. I do think now he's someone I would pay 20 million for at West Ham.
Yeah, but I do think it's unrealistic, to be perfectly honest with you. As you made your list before the weekend, haven't you? Because he's probably back in favour again, possibly. So, was brilliant. Again, would comfortably best striker at the club. He's got the physical ability as well. A very, very good player. And I think he'd like to get on the end of some of Payet's crosses. I think it might encourage Payet to cross more, possibly. I would love to get him. I just don't think it's realistic. I don't think Arsenal will sell. I don't think he'd come to us. I think he probably thinks he can force his way back into the team at Arsenal, and his talent certainly suggests that he can.
I don't think he's good enough for Arsenal. I don't think he's good enough for a title-winning Premier League team. I just think he's a bit too lazy. But he is fantastic in the air, and I think that's what we're maybe missing a little bit with the striker. Someone who you can just put the easy cross in, etc. This guy moved to Bournemouth last January. Ayew, he went to Bournemouth, hit the ground running. He's struggled. He's been in and out of the team a little bit, and Bournemouth paid 12 million for him. And they'd probably be thinking, right, we need a little bit of a profit on that. But would you take a punt on Ayew, or do you think he's not done it in the Premier League? Or
well, he went from Arsenal to Wolves and then to Bournemouth. I didn't see. I looked at him first time I saw him. He actually signed. He was still at Wolves when we played him in the Cup last year. So I had a little look at him. Did so he didn't play. They didn't play him in that game. And then we beat him, got through to the next round. But I had a look at him afterwards and watched him at Bournemouth. He scored a couple of goals for Bournemouth last season, and he's okay. He's not what we need. I mean, we've spoken about the other with Berahino, Giroud would both come in and be the best strikers at the club. He wouldn't come in and be the best striker at the club.
What about his teammate Carroll and Wilson? He'd obviously be more expensive. It'd be difficult to get him out of there, being Mr. Bournemouth almost. But he's been scoring goals quite easily in the Premier League.
Yeah, he has. I think he needs to show a little bit more that he was a bad injury, very, very bad injury. And I think he needs to show that he has fully recovered from it before anyone spends any big money on him, to be perfectly honest with you. We talked about Sturridge earlier. Sturridge gets little niggles that keep him out here or there. Wilson had a big injury, big serious injury. So, yeah, he seems talented. If you were going to speak of any of them, those ones, funny enough, it would be the guy at Burnley, Gray, the one that's just. Sorry, I think it was someone's. I triggered Siri then, and the phone started talking to me or something. The guy Gray at Burnley, he's just served a suspension for homophobic tweets or something. He looks quite a talented player, so I'd probably rather go for him than Wilson.
He was also on the list, so fair play. I'll give you that one. I like him as well. I think you have to be looking at teams who finished below us last season and thinking, right, we need to poach one of their players. We need to poach them. Do what the big clubs have been doing to the likes of West Ham all this year, where they look at, as soon as you've got a decent player, the big clubs come in and go, we'll have him, thank you very much. And we need to do that to the clubs who are not quite at our level in the Premier League a little bit. And we need to start bullying a little bit, going up to a bit like Everton did with Ashley Williams. Well, the Swansea said we're having him. How much are we taking him for? And they were, all right, okay. But like we did with Andre Ayew, I suppose. We're up to Swansea, so we're taking him. What's the price? We need to do that more often. When it's going to Bournemouth for Ayew or Callum Wilson are going to Burnley for Gray, I think we need to start going to these clubs and say, he's coming to West Ham, here's my checkbook, what is it? Oh, let's talk about a loan fee, and then we'll add some impedances in. We'll do about 5 different checks for you, and we'll get that player over. But now the man I want, the man that everybody's forgotten about, Danny Ings. He's 24 years old. I want Danny Ings. I don't think he'd be all that expensive. He's not getting a game at Liverpool. He does not suit Liverpool. I think you'd get him for 10 million or less. He's 24 years old.
That's a really good shout. You say everyone's forgotten about him. I'd forgotten about him.
Everybody has forgotten about him. I want Danny Ings. So Mr. Sullivan, by any chance, well, he's watched some of our show. We know David Sullivan go watch some of our shows. Probably not them all. I want Danny Ings, and he's probably got bored by now. We've just been slagging him off for the last.
Well, if we are doing this, I want Daniel Sturridge.
I want Danny Ings. Get me Danny Ings. I will be a very happy Gio. I'll be a very happy Hammer. How much would you pay for Ings?
Again, you've got him over a barrel. Having said that, I thought because I wanted Benteke, as you know, all summer, and then Palace would have Liverpool over a barrel because he wasn't playing. But fair play to them, they've done some good negotiating there. They got their money back. So I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't get him on the cheap. You probably would have to spend your 10 million for him. They couldn't demand any more than that because, well, they just couldn't. He's not done anything. I think they paid 7 at a tribunal because his contract expired again at Burnley, didn't it? So I think it was quite fraught negotiations that went on for quite a while. I think they paid 6 to 7 million. So they certainly want that back and then some.
He's not a clippity-clop player, though, is he? He's not that. I mean, Sturridge isn't even a Klopp player. Sturridge is almost like the next best thing to a Klopp striker because he is fast, he is technical. He's just not got the work ethic. He's only missing one trait. Danny Ings, I think, is missing more than one characteristic to fit that Klopp team. And get me Danny Ings. I really want him. But what in an ideal world, though, gods, or who would you see come in? Bearing in mind all the ones we spoke about, you could have someone up your sleeve we haven't spoke about from the European League or whatever. The money it will cost to take them in as well, etc. And bearing in mind, this is West Ham. Whoever we sign in January, if anyone, is going to come out of the summer budget. I'm telling you now, it will not be a case, let's buy a player. Come May, we will get reminded. In January, we signed a player, stand by him. We signed a player, that's come out of the budget, we've got no money left, etc. That's what I'll say. But who would you be going for? Who are you hoping we're going to go for?
Oh, I mean, in terms of budget, I don't care as long as it's not coming out of my budget. I don't really care whether it's last year's or next year's or this year's. Well, we've discussed a few players. I think who would you go for? It's who would excite you. And Sturridge would really excite me. I've also got to say, Berahino would excite me. I think because I'd be full of hope. There would always be that chance that he was going to implode. But he's got an attitude. And I think sometimes people with a bit of attitude have got a point to prove. I wouldn't be surprised if he came in and started banging in goals. My one thing with Berahino is that he's not a big fella, and I'm not sure he would particularly suit Bilic. Bilic, I'm not saying we need a huge guy, but for the same reason, I'm not sure Defoe would work out for Bilic. I just don't think Bilic is going to play to their strength. So we need someone who, whilst not particularly dominant in the air necessarily, whilst that would be nice, is certainly big and physical enough. And I think Daniel Sturridge is sort of 6'1" or something like that. You wouldn't call him a target man, but he's certainly, big enough to take care of himself if he plays as a lone striker. So I'll go with Sturridge. I don't believe it, but yeah, as my Christmas list, Sturridge.
Can you guess who I would pick?
What, is he someone other than your list?
No, just if I got to pick a striker, can you guess who I'd pick?
Yeah, Wayne Rooney. You'd like Wayne Rooney, didn't you?
No, Mr. Danny Ings, just to remind everyone, Mr. Danny. But right, I'm going to go back to the question I asked you at the very start. Since we've been discussing this, I said to you at the start, is a problem kind of the way we set up, the creativity midfield, etc., or is it a striker? Now we've just spoke about all this. Do you think it's a striker or do you think it's Bilic?
What, the problem?
Yeah, why? We've gone 16 games that our striker scoring. Is it the problem our 5 or 6 different people played in the striking position, or is it Bilic?
No, because I think Bilic is a better manager than Zaza is a striker, and I don't want to heap it all on Zaza.
What? But that makes zero sense. How does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
It doesn't.
No, it means that Zaza is down here and at that level as a striker. As a manager, Bilic is up here. I don't blame Bilic. I blame the strikers, but Bilic could help more. Okay, I think the strikers we've had up front this season, which has largely been Zaza. Antonio's played up there a little bit, but he's not really a striker. And then we've seen a mixture of Calleri, and I don't think the strikers have been good enough. Okay, so that's the problem. Bilic can help the situation because I do think he needs to get Lanzini and Payet closer to the strikers, that would really help a great deal. And as you say, he's only going to play one striker up front, so it is vital. You also made a point earlier, you'd like to see us play no strikers like the Liverpool way. I know what you're saying. Firmino, Coutinho, Lallana's playing up there, isn't he, as well? I know exactly what you're saying. That style, they looked really good. I posted it on the forum, so it looked really good. Wouldn't it be a bit shocking if that was the plan? That's why we bought Ayew, but yet still, the manager wants to do that, yet the owner is still determined to go and buy the striker, and then we bought Zaza anyway, even though he wasn't part of the plan. That would be a bad thing, and that's why it perhaps was silly to bring him in. It's why we can't make the deal permanent. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, though, and you don't even, whilst you were a bit sneaky with your list, I'm going to do something sneaky now, and you didn't know I was going to do this. I have got a T-shirt here, okay? And it's a Hammers Chat T-shirt. It's never been worn. I got a couple. They were prototypes. This one's medium, and I've got quite big moves, so it didn't fit me. So it's a little bit tight on me. So I think it would fit a large adolescent, let's say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this away to somebody. You can decide. You can decide how they enter, but I want someone to guess the striker we're going to get. Okay, you only get one guess. No cheating. Okay, so is it going to be Ings? Is it going to be Sturridge? Is it going to be someone foreign? And then what I will do is, yeah, I will give whoever's got. So we signed Danny Ings, which is what we want, and then 10 people have all said we are going to sign Danny Ings. We'll do it underneath the video. Should we do that underneath the video? Yeah. Make sure you've subscribed underneath the video, and make sure you're also a member of our Twitter, which is @Hammers_chat. So yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll put them into a pot. But if you're a really, really big bloke, don't expect this to fit. It's not, you know, it's a medium. It's the only one I've got, but it's a lovely bit of kit, beautifully embroidered, exclusive Hammers Chat T-shirts. There you go.
And if we don't sign a striker?
Well, I might wear it myself, and you'll see me in this. Sorry?
It's a rollover. We're just going on to the next window.
God, can you imagine if we don't sign a striker? We just wasted about an hour of our lives if we don't sign a striker talking about it.
Well, what's worse is if people are still watching this, they've wasted an hour of their lives listening to us talking about it.
They're all asleep.
But anyway, well, let's wrap it up there, will we, guys? Thank you very much for joining us. Come on to the forum at hammerschat.com. We'll put a link in the description. We are talking about which striker you want to see at West Ham in January. / are you hoping to see? It's two completely different things, and also who will get. Make sure you comment below for a chance to win that T-shirt that Gonza's got that makes his move stand out a little bit. Also, make sure you
in the cold, particularly in the cold, mate.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well here at Hammers Chat. We'll be back. We've got lots of videos coming. And also, make sure you check out our sponsor, Royal London Watches, lovely little stuff. Also, our newsletter. We've started a newsletter. One went out tonight. If you're not on the list, get on the list. We've got exclusive offers. We've just put out a newsletter tonight. It's got 10% off the Art of Football. Now, if you don't know what the Art of Football is, have a look at the newsletter. It's on there. It tells you what the Art of Football is. You get a money saving. There is a code. It's a Hammers Chat code as well. So make sure you pop up the newsletter. We'll put the links in the description. Gonzo's saying one more thing. He's probably just thought of a striker. What is it, Gonzo?
No, I haven't. Somebody asked me a couple of days ago, why do you keep saying subscribe on here? The reason being is some people will watch our videos on embedded channels. You might watch it on Clarent here. You might watch it on Hammers Chat. If you go on to click on to the YouTube and you press subscribe, if you've got a favorite video or whatnot, then it will let you know when our next video has been released. So it will sort of keep you in the loop. If you like this sort of thing, then it will just keep you in the loop as to what we're doing. So there you go.
And lastly, thank you very much for watching. Also, all the people that have been commenting in the live chat, been trying to keep my half eye on it as well. But thank you for keeping Charlie and Tom entertaining there. And thanks to Charlie and Tom for running the live chat. But we've been Hammers Chat. This has been the Hammers Chat Striker Crisis. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll be back very soon. Thank you for watching.